Good afternoon, everybody here. Okay, I hope everybody here can benefit from this topic where I'm going to show you why landed property is a gem in Singapore. Okay, so before I go into my slide, I want to show you some of the houses that I've sold just only recently. Okay, before that, disclaimer, just take note that all this is my own presentation. And if let's say you need any further consultation on your buying or selling, please look for your favorite property consultant. And hopefully they are from Orange Tea. Okay. So some of the houses that I have sold, okay, recently. So you can see, houses that I sold, I like to post in front of them, okay. These are very beautiful houses. Some are original, some are very nice house. Some I sold in one day. Some after agents sold for 1 year cannot. I go in there and sell within a week. Okay, so very good. A lot of my buyers, they know what they are buying. And a lot of them, after just only a couple of years, they have the landed property already have went up by a few $1 million. Okay, and the last one, very interesting. This is one of the oldest landed property I've sold. Okay, this is in Serangoon Garden. The year is in 1950 plus, so it's definitely much older than me. But it's very interesting that owner hopes that I can sell in 3 months, but I did it in less than 1 month. Okay, so to understand the landed property, let's take a look at Singapore housing pyramid. And this information is for 2023. Okay, so in a housing pyramid, we can see that how things occur is that landed, okay, for landed property is right on top, followed by private residential, the condominiums, and then after that HDB form the majority. So for landed property, just some number for you all in 2023, how many landed do we have? Okay, it's approximately about 4.8% of the total residential property, which amount to about 75,000. For condominiums, okay, the number is, and out of the 75,000, 2,800 are GCBs, the good class bungalows. Okay, the one that you are hearing that all the rich people are all going for. Super rich people. Okay, for condominiums, it's about 22.5%, which amounted to about 350,000 units, about 2,800 condos in Singapore. For HDB, of course, is the main bulk. Most of the Singaporeans stay in the HDBs, 72.7%. And it's about 1.13 million, about 11,000 blocks currently. So for some statistics that if you want to know why landed is a gem, you need to understand because it's rare, right? And how about the numbers? Okay, the numbers, I would like to show that over the few years, starting from 2017, 2 years later, 19, 21, and until last year, you can see the numbers for HDB is steadily increasing from 1.32 million, increase to 66, increase to 1.88, and last year is 1.126. So you can see that HDB is constantly increasing in number. For condominiums, also is the same. You will see that there's a growing trend of demand, and then that there's a lot of supply that comes out. So from 303, steadily increased to 325, 333, and last year is 351. But for landed in Singapore, something unique is that it doesn't really goes up much. Why is that so? Because Singapore is land scarce. We don't have much place that the government release for developers to buy to build land for us anymore. Okay, whatever, especially if you are looking for freehold land, it can be acquired only from existing owner. Singapore, when the government sell land, they don't sell freehold. If they ever have, 99 and very limited. Okay, but most of the developers will not buy a land to build the landed property. Okay, because selling condos, they make much more profit. Okay, so since HDB is the main bulk of property in Singapore, let's take a look at these interesting numbers. And that also will let you all know why landed property can only go up and very difficult to drop down. Okay, so let's understand HDB statistic. Over the last 3 decades, take a look at the number that's increasing. From 655 until 10 years later, it increased 33% to 874. Another 10 years from then, they increased to 933. After which, another 10 years, they increased by 21%. So can you see that most Singaporeans, when they first enter into a property, where do they go to? Mostly HDB first, right? And HDB actually is something that if you look in newspaper this year, is the only property that right now you see they are hitting new records. Correct or not? The last HDB, can anybody tell me what is the record price for a HDB sold recently? 1.7, very good. Yeah. The price, later you can claim from me. 1.7 for a HDB and it's a 5-room flat. Okay, so you can see that with HDB 10 years ago, people say $1 million is very difficult. Now 1.7 is very normal. 1.5, 1.7. In another 5 years to 10 years now, HDB selling at $2 million, is it surprising? It's definitely not. So for whatever landed property that now they hear 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, it will definitely only go higher. Okay? So the number of people who own HDB get more. The number of $1 million HDB get more. The number of HDB sellers who got cash from selling HDB so much more that it's very easy for them to enter private property. Okay? So take note on that, HDB statistics. And let's compare to 2017, the housing pyramid. Okay, so just now I showed you is 2023 last year. I'm going to show you something that's 6 years ago. Interestingly, within these 6 years, we can see very significant change already. And that time, the landed property is 5.3, which is only 74,000. Okay? Private property, that time was 21.5%, which is 303. Okay, and during that time, only about 2,500 projects. For HDB during the time, 37.2. Okay, 1.32. Then you'll be thinking, hey, Vincent, I think just about five minutes ago you showed us something like that. 2023. So let's do a comparison of these two years. What's happened over the last 6 years? Just a short 6 years. Look at what happened in Singapore private property market, the whole residential property market. Okay, in 2017 versus 2023, the number during that time, 5.3% of it is landed. In 2023, it drops. Okay? The reason is because the number of landed is the same. And interestingly, do you think the number of private property went up or go down? Up, right? Good. Okay? 21.5%, it went up to 22.5. So if this one drops a little bit, this one increased by more than this. So what happened to the HDB market? Did HDB percentage went up or down? Up. Who say up? Can I have a show of hand? Who say up? Who say down? Nobody say down. Interestingly, these 6 years, originally 73.2 of them in 2017 is HDB, but when I calculate 2023, the percentage went down. It went down because why? The number of private property built during these 6 years, okay, is slightly, not the quantity, not the quantity more, but in terms of the percentage went up. Meaning that there's a rise of middle class in Singapore. Okay, that's a very important fact. Rise of middle class when it increase, what will happen to the upper class? Will automatically push upward faster. Okay, when there's a rise of lower class, middle class will go up. But high end is a question mark. But when there's a high increase in middle class, it will push the higher up furthermore. Okay, so this is a very interesting fact. Okay, just take note. And a typical, let me walk to the side here. A typical number of years of how many transactions for landed property, if you want to know, okay, you can see that corner terrace got how many? The inter terrace, the detached house, semi-D, and also include some cluster house. Total Total is 74,700 plus. So that's why there's some of the numbers hover from 74,000 to 75. So, and the total number of transactions in 2021 amounts to about 3,477, which is about 4 point something 5% of the whole total. Is that a lot? Okay, for landed property, actually this is quite a fair bit. Okay, to have 3,000 plus transaction alone. So you can see how many houses change hands. And all these landed transactions, we are talking about multi-million. Okay, multi-million. The GCBs really are the one that cross 9 digits. Okay, so it's a lot of money transacted for the year of 2021. So also we just take a look at a volume overview. This is something from our Orange Tea record that we can see. I trace back 20 years record, that during these last 20 years, for private property volume, this is the total volume, okay, the one that is beige color. We can see that from 2024, 25, 26, 27. Remember 2027, 26 to 27, that was one of the very big property surge in Singapore. That was a time where Singapore government say about our what? The white plan. They want to increase the population to 6.9 million. That time was 5.2. When the moment they announced they want to increase the population, straight away property in 2027 shoot up. Okay, you can see 2024 only about 12, 13,000, shoot up to 2025 about 16, 17. 2026 only about 23, 24, suddenly shoot to almost 39. Everybody. So when government, Singapore government tells you certain things, it's always a very big hint. So if you want to invest in Singapore property, who must you listen to? Singapore government. Okay, Singapore government will drop a lot of hints, and that's where you'll start to see things start to move. Okay, but this is only for volume. It doesn't reflect the price. So from there, Lehman Brothers happened. Okay, 2008, the price actually, the volume actually comes down. But did the price come down? Did the price come down in 2008? You'll realize no. In fact, 2008, HDB still go up. 2009, HDB still go up. So you see, a lot of people thought that during crisis, cham liao is very bad. Okay, in Singapore, is the property price crashing? No. Later, I'll show you another chart. So until then, you can see in 2009, when US start the stimulus plan, you can see the volume shoot up almost quite back to similar of the peak of 2007. Okay, so that is another thing that when stimulus plan means that when there's a huge injection of money, when there's a huge injection of money into the economy, what will happen is, what is the best hedge? What will happen when the money come in? They will cause heavy inflation, right? And what's the best hedge against inflation? Property. That's where in 2009, 2010, 11 and 12, you start to see the volume is very high. The only unfortunate thing in 2013, why the price dropped? What happened in 2013? Anybody know? Singapore government introduced a measure in 2013, a very drastic measure. Actually, they start coming out in 2010, 11, 12. But all those measures are very minor. But 13, there's one measure, they call it not a cooling measure, come out, and that actually cools the whole market. It's called TDSR. Have you heard of what is TDSR? Total Debt Servicing Ratio. During that time, anybody in 2012, 13, if you have a property that the valuation go up, you can go and reassess, and after that you can actually take a new loan, and it doesn't affect your servicing. But when it comes to 2013, once you have a house, let's say your income is 10,000, you're servicing about 3,000 already. When you want to borrow the next loan for the next house, you realize you only can service with a lesser installment, so they'll give you a lesser loan. Okay, so 2013, so you can see that the price will just, the volume actually will drop. Okay, so what's going to happen? Fast forward until after that, COVID happened in 2020, and you see the next following year, what happened? Why the price zoom up? Not the price, the volume zoom up. It's because during 2020, there is another big stimulus plan. Remember, in Singapore government actually throw out 100 billion to support the economy, right? And in US alone, they also injected $9 trillion. So volume will go up. Hey, wait. Okay, so all these actually, you will see a huge injection of funds into the economy. All the volume will actually go up. Okay, then of course these few years, all this is because I think too many people buy and there's not many new launches. Okay, so it's come down a bit. Okay, and also not to forget 2022 actually the interest rate spiked up. Okay, because of inflation, the interest rate spike up, so the volume come down. So these few years actually come down. Partially is also because of interest rate. Remember, 2020, 2021, when you borrow, there's still about 1.5% interest, 1.3%. Come to 2022, end of the year, the interest rate spike up to 3.84%. Okay, so it comes down. So what's going to happen in 2024? Do you all know interest rate? Next week, what is going to happen? Anybody know? Okay, interest rate, Fed already have said, most likely in September, November, December, they are going to have 3 rate cuts. So we wait for the news on next Wednesday. Okay, the Fed will announce then. So let's come back to, just now is the volume. So now I'm going to show you private residential landed price overview in terms of per square foot. So this is for the last 20 years or so, from 2024 until last year. You'll notice that the price, average price of landed property, if you buy averagely in Singapore, is cost only less than $500 per square foot. Cheap, right? During that time, 2024, that is, we just recovered from SARS. So during SARS, the price was a bit depressed. So during that time, if you enter, it's about 400 plus averagely. 10 years from 2024, 2014, you come up, you'll see that it already went up to 1,002. From 400 plus to 1,002, more than double in 10 years landed property. And after that, from there to now, 1,002, right now is about easily average 1,008, 1,009. So easily have gone up 60, 70%, which is a very, very good return. Okay, so this is landed, and this actually to show you that landed, you don't see the price like drops tremendously. They will support, and then after that, they will always long-term go up. Nice, right? This kind of chart is very nice chart, right? Okay, this is to give you the confidence in Singapore, that in Singapore, the landed property price is very resilient. Okay, so where are the landed buyers coming from? A lot of people will be saying, Vincent, the price keep on going up. Are you sure Singapore got so many buyers to buy the landed property at such an expensive price? Because just only about less than 10 years ago, $1 million plus can still buy. Right now, you have 3 million. You can't even buy a landed property. So where are all these landed buyers coming from? Okay, interestingly, like just now what I say, because of the $1 million HDB, so the HDB upgraders are coming in. This year, 80% of my landed property I sold. Interestingly, and most of them we are talking about 3 to 5 million and above. Okay, 80% of buyers are from HDB. They are young, they have high income, and they have the first pot of gold from their HDB. They pay for the down payment for their landed. So a lot of them are inside here. There are condos upgraders. Okay, condos also is a good stepping stone. From a HDB, they went to condo. Condo also make quite a fair bit of money. Then they come to the landed. New citizen. This is someone that's helicopter from somewhere else that we don't know much about them, right? So suddenly they come to Singapore. They are from another country, somewhere out there in the world. They got some very special way to come to Singapore to become the new citizen. They got citizenship. The moment once they get into citizenship, you don't have to teach them. These are the super rich people. Okay, a lot of them are the super rich people. They will know straight away, go for landed. And later I'll show you what kind of landed property they buy. And of course, in Singapore, because of something that I'm going to share later, a lot of rich parents now are not buying for themselves. The rich parents, their love for their children, their grandchildren are so much that a lot of them are starting to buy for their children and grandchildren. Okay? So this is it. Okay, for the new citizen, a lot of them come through this means. How many of y'all have heard of family office? Anybody heard of family office? Okay, family office is a very special way that Singapore government created to allow the wealthy people in the whole world to come and settle down in Singapore. And when they do that, How do they actually do it? Just a number to just show you first before I go to the detail how they can come in. In 2018, there is only 50 family office set up, okay, in Singapore. And after that, 5 years down the road, last year, can you imagine the number from 50 went up to how many? Anybody know? 1,005? Quite close, very good guess. It's actually 1,004, okay? And that year alone, that year alone, 2023, last year alone, 300 approval for them. 300 new family offices set up in 1 year alone, okay? And before that, actually from 50, you can see 2019, 2011, 12, also got a few hundred each year. So they come up, last year alone is 300 to make up to 1,004. Okay, maybe in now 2024, I believe they have crossed to 1,005, like what the gentleman has said. Okay, so what about this family office? Each of them, for each of the family office to be approved right now in Singapore, it costs them 200 million. Woo! 200 million helicopter from somewhere out there in the world to Singapore. And when this kind of hot money come in, this is not hot money, these are legit money. Anything that's through the government means is all scrutinized, make sure these are really the wealthy people from somewhere out there, okay, that they come into Singapore. Each family bring in minimum. Could it be some of them bring in $500 million? Could it be some of them bring in 1 billion, 2 billion, 10 billion? All possible, right? So with all this money coming in, just a quick equation, 300 times 200 million. Just last year, minimum 60 billion come into Singapore. Without any Singaporean trying to earn the money. It's all fresh from overseas. So with all this money comes in, what happened? Let's take a look. Okay, they come in under this program called the GIP, Global Investment Program. Under this investor program initiative, they can straight away become a permanent resident, PR. So if they want to buy a Singapore property, and for foreigners, how much do they have to pay? A very high ABSD, right? The moment they come in under this, they'll become a PR, pay a lower ABSD, which I will touch on later. Then after that, as long as they fulfill the requirement, at least 5 years of track record as entrepreneur, investors, manager, they can bring in 200 million and straight away join in this program and set up a family office. And family office, when they come here, their whole family can become PR and eventually become Singaporean. Okay, so when that comes, what happened to them? And they have to use how much of their money? 50 million in investment categories stipulated by the government to get their status, the family office status. So 50 million, what can they buy? What kind of property can they buy in Singapore? Most of the things already, right? Okay, so quite no limit. So because of all this happened, so we suddenly see after COVID, prices that we never dreamed of in Singapore just hit record and is erased very fast year after year. And let's see for the cream of the crop, our GCBs. Our GCB's record suddenly is erased like, oh my gosh. It takes tens of years last time to even go up by $1,000 per square foot. Let's take a look. In 2021, okay, after COVID, we read this news. How many of y'all know this news? Okay? That Nanofilm founder wife pay 128.8 million for a record of 4,005 PSF for a GCB in Nassim Road. Very impressive, right? The old record before this was only 2,000 plus, not even 3,000. So when they buy, straight away cross the 3,000 to 4,000. Okay, and that one is in 2021. And in that same year, we thought, wow, 4,005 record already. The next one, already, straight away in the same year, broken, 4,291, okay, for another GCB. And this year, do you all know the latest news of the GCB, what it was the record for this year? Already in the news? Anybody? Okay. 6,002. Oh my gosh. Okay. This one is reported, okay, just only less than 2 months ago. Ooh. 6,000 plus for the land. Okay, the GCB sells 6,002. So welcome to the rich man's playground. Okay, so with 6,002, you look at all the rest of the landed property in Singapore, 1,000, 2,000, hitting 2,000 plus. People say, wow, expensive. New one. If you have heard yesterday, where my colleague actually shared with you all, the new landed property are 3,000 plus. People say 3,000 plus very expensive. Take a look. GCB, they are going at 6,000 plus. Amazing, right? The price. So, with all this, then how can you equip yourself to hold the gem that I'm going to share with you? Okay? I don't know whether some of them I see are you Singaporean yet? If not, become a Singaporean. Then you can hold this gem together. Okay, for the game changer, that what's happening in Singapore is previously rich people, some of them are not a lender, or they are not kind that like to own land. So they buy condo, then after that, every time they got money, they buy extra new condos to rent it out for capital gain, for rental yield, all this. But the game changer comes in somewhere early 2010, that they start to introduce ABSD. Last time ABSD is low, so a lot of people can buy second property paying ABSD. But Singapore government changed, okay, the ABSD last year, okay, to a number that most Singaporean or foreigner find it very hard to swallow. Okay, before 2023, it was Singapore property owners. First property, we don't need to pay additional ABSD. Okay, now no change also. But second property used to be 17, now come to 20. Third one from 25, now is 30. Okay, so most of the Singaporean surrender over here already. Don't buy already. 20% a bit too much already. Okay, PR, first property, 5%, no change, they are still buying. Second one, they also stop already, 30%. Okay, and the third one now is 35. But for foreigners, it's the most heaviest. Foreigners nowadays just come in, oh, I want to buy Singapore property. It's very safe, all this. Okay, so 30%, did they buy? They buy. After that, 60%, did they buy? Did they buy? For last year, temporary don't buy. But this year, start to buy again. Oh my gosh, 60%. Vincent, you're telling me that foreigners really starting to buy? Yes, and the number is starting to increase as I'm talking to you. Okay? First, second, third quarter, we see that foreigners are acknowledging Singapore for the safety, for the safe haven, for the currency that they change to. It's starting to make sense to even pay government 60% to buy. So you see, the new citizen coming in, the foreigners coming in, for Singaporean, you know what does it mean? Everybody want to buy a piece of Singapore property, okay? And the rich people, actually a lot of them, start to channel their properties, sell all their 3 properties, 5 properties, and they will consolidate to buy one big property. And the biggest item that they can buy in Singapore as a property usually are the landed property. Okay, so there's a growing trend of why I'm seeing HDB people, HDB owners, they are not going to multiple condo, they are straight away coming into landed. Okay, a lot of investors also are changing and coming into landed. So that is why I say game changer, this actually transform a lot of this property investment mindset in Singapore from multiple condo to become a big landed. Okay, so this is the way to go. And remember, who is the biggest one that can affect the property volume and price in Singapore? Singapore government. So when government set this new rule, are we going to stick on to the old rule or go with the new rule? Okay, so this is the one. So what I will do is that I will end off with this case study so that you all can have a takeaway, and after that you all will know what is the best kind of investment for yourself. So in, let's say example, in 2008, there's this gentleman, income 10K, he have 200K cash and 200K CPF after selling their first property, most likely a HDB. So if 2008, okay, what should he buy during that year? There's 2 choices. First is a 900K condominium, which is 1,002 square feet, 3 bedroom, near an MRT. In fact, it's next to it only, next to the MRT. Or he should buy a $1.1 million landed, which is around this size of 1,600 20, the land size, and the build up is about 2005, which is 15 minutes walk from the same MRT. So in 2008, how many of y'all will buy number one? A condominium. How many of y'all will buy into number two? Landed. Okay, very good. Well, I can see why are y'all inside there in my audience to listen to me, because I give you the hard truth, which is the first one I'm referring to is Cover Melody. The second one, the landed, is actually a hillside drive that I just sold recently. It's a 2-story interterrace. So in 2008 July, I checked the record of 1,227 square feet is about 907K. And during the same period, my client bought into this hillside drive. The size is about 1850, and he paid about almost 1.1 million. So in this year, the transaction that the similar condo is sold at 2.068, which is quite a nice number, but the landed property, take a look how much is transacted, 3.65. Wow, incredible. And when my client bought in, he didn't do much. He only spent about 100 over 1,000 in renovation. He didn't do A&A, he didn't rebuild. The same house that he bought, after 16 years, he cashed out. So in 16 years, how much did he make? Versus a condo, which gives you a return, a decent return of 128. Not too bad, also can. But if you had bought a landed for only 200K more, but 200K, you don't have to have 200K. You borrowed a loan of 80%, you need extra 40K only. Correct or not? For extra 40K, over here, you make an extra of 1 over million. So, is landed property a gem in Singapore? It's for you to decide. Okay? So, with that, I hope you all have learned something, and I hope you all have some takeaway. And with that, I'll end my slide. Thank you very much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, a round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen, for the Executive Associate Director of Orange Tea and Time, Mr. Vincent Lim, ladies and gentlemen. Zhang Sheng Kuli Kuli, clap your hands, everybody. All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you guys have been waiting for is the chance for you to win a pair of tickets to Macau. How many of you want to win a pair of tickets to Macau? This side. When you want, so happy. This side. Confirm Singaporeans, you all too. Very good, very good. All right, what's going to happen is very simple. Please take out your headphones and scan the QR code. And once you have done your scanning, your answers will be tabulated into the mini survey, which will be then drawn into lucky draw. All right, now in the meantime, we'd like to ask anybody here who needs help in scanning the QR code. If you're not familiar, please let us know. We'll send our beautiful assistant, not assistant, my boss. My boss will come around. This is my boss, okay, to help you out. Anybody needs assistance? Okay, in the meanwhile, while waiting for them, Vincent, is there anything else you'd like to share? You're good? Okay. Just to let you know, ladies and gentlemen, gentle reminder that we have a very beautiful piece of art gallery, okay, at the Orange Tree Lounge. So if you are, interested in art, we have found some of the most finest pieces in Singapore right here on display. And any purchase today, ladies and gentlemen, is going to give you a chance to help charity, okay? Because 50% of the sales proceeds are going to go to our adopted charity, which is the Singapore Children's Society, which is also tax rebatable, all right? And ladies and gentlemen, after this, we're going to have a Q&A session, where you can actually scan the QR code with the questions, all right? And apparently, I think some of them already did it, huh? Okay, so we have the first question. Mr. Vincent, how do you predict the Singapore property market to go in the next few years?
Okay, Singapore has actually emerged very well from COVID, and as you can see that foreigners are coming in, our economy is very strong. So I would suppose that Singapore property will be very resilient, and chance of it going up is very high.
Okay, short and simple and sharp. I hope that answers your question. Any further questions, ladies and gentlemen? Moving on next, we have the next one. Okay, this is one or two questions?
Anyone.
2 questions, okay. Same person asked 2 questions. Interesting. First question, let's tackle the first one, yeah? Is it better to buy a new build landed or old landed to tear down and rebuild?
Okay, for landed property, always depend on whether do you have the experience to rebuild or do you want to spend the time to actually build up the house. It's a long and arduous process, but the reward is good if you have the time and you have the budget. But if not, right, you can always buy a new one, save the convenience, and straight away enjoy the landed property as you want to.
Okay, well done. All right, moving on to the next question we have is, with the landed prices so high now, are we now priced out? Am I too late?
That's always one of the questions a lot of people ask me. Okay, it's never too late. As long as your income can afford, please enter as soon as possible. But of course, you need to have buffer. Okay, normally landed owners don't leave themselves without any buffer. Always have some buffer for rainy days so that you can continue service the loan, and that will actually, in long term, always make the money that you deserve. Okay.
Okay, all right. Do we have any more questions? We have one more. Okay, this one very interesting. For landed, would there be still potential of JF if we buy a 99 landed? What is JF?
I think it's potential if we buy a 99
Oh,
years
if,
landed.
alamak, sorry.
Okay, for a 99 years landed,
My England so
not
bad.
to worry. Okay, it will also go up, but usually, from my experience, slightly lower than the freehold and 999 landed. Okay, but it's for people that right now, if you find that freehold is too high to enter, a 99 years is also quite good. Okay, and it's an experience that you can enjoy, so that when you down the road, when your price appreciate, you want to change to a freehold landed at the time, you will know exactly what you want in your next house. Okay.